How you doing out there? Dave Hill coming at you again, and we were just playing a little blues, and that's what we're going to do today. We're going to have a lot of fun playing some blues. So let me bring out my blues pick here, and talk about what we're going to cover today. All right, so you might have heard that I was moving around the neck, and you might have heard the variations of some of the pentatonic scales I was using, but I want to talk about that a little bit deeper, so we can really kind of get this together and show you a new way of playing over the blues progression. Okay, so you can see I have a blues progression in A behind me on the board. And you'll see that this chord right here, the second chord of the progression, says quick change next to it. And that simply refers to the style of blues or a blues progression that would go to the 4 chord on the second bar of the progression. Okay, as we've talked about before, the A chord would be the 1 chord, the D chord would be the 4 chord. In a quick change blues, the 4 chord happens on the second bar. If it was a slow change blues, the A chord would stay for the full 4 bars, and then it would go to the D chord. That would be a slow change blues. Okay? And these chords, as we know, are actually all dominant chords when we're playing the blues. So let's make sure that you understand that. Okay, now, I want you to check something out. We've talked about pentatonic scales before. Pentatonic scales are great for rock and roll and blues and country and all kinds of music. But they really work well in blues music, and let me show you why. When you play a minor pentatonic scale over a blues, let's say you played A minor pentatonic over the whole thing. Listen to how that would sound. Minor pentatonic, as you know, it's basically going to be that kind of a sound, right? It's going to be a bluesy sound like that. Okay, now listen to the color of that, and then we'll talk about it. Okay, sounds great. There's nothing wrong with it, but what it lacks is any kind of melodic variety. Okay, it just sort of says the same thing with 5 notes over and over again. It's great, but I think I want to try a little bit of a different flavor in the blues. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to play, instead of A minor pentatonic over every chord, I'm going to play major pentatonic on certain chords. I'm going to play major pentatonic on the A chords. Okay? And then I'm going to play minor pentatonic on the D chord. Okay? So let's write that down so you can see how that works. I'm going to play major pentatonic here, and I'm going to play A minor pentatonic on this part of the progression. Okay? And on this part of the progression, I'm going to stay on A minor pentatonic. Okay. Okay, and you're going to hear the effect of that right away. Now, on my sequence that we're playing along to, you'll hear me, you'll hear the track doesn't go to a quick change right away. It goes to a quick change on the second part, the second time through the progression. So I chose to do it that way so you could really hear the difference between a quick change and a slow change blues. Okay? So when you hear me play major pentatonic at the beginning the first time, you're going to really hear it for four measures, okay? So let's check out what that is, and I'll just review the scale one more time so you can see what major pentatonic would be. We've talked about a few of them, but I'm just going to physically show you. I'm just going to take the minor pentatonic right here, and I'm just going to literally play it down in this position, because essentially, remember that a minor pentatonic is also a major pentatonic from this note right here. So this would be the same as C major pentatonic. So I'm just going to make it A major pentatonic by putting my fourth finger on A. Doing that on the A chords. When I go to the D chords, I'm going to play it back in this position to create more of the minor sound on the D chord. And you'll really hear the flavor of the progression now. So here we go. Let me turn it on. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? So you can probably hear the color of the major pentatonic on the A7 chord is brighter. And what I mean by brighter is it has a little bit more of a more major sound, simply because the major pentatonic over the A7 chord utilizes a major third, right, by virtue of the scale. It's a 1, 2nd degree, major third, 5th, and 6th degree over this chord. So it tends to kind of bring out the flavor of an A6 sound, right? Now, when I go to the D chord and I move to A minor pentatonic, listen to how the flavor of A minor pentatonic over the D chord, what the flavor of that provides. Right away, you'll hear that when the minor third of the A minor pentatonic is the flat 7 of the D chord, so it makes it sound more like we're on the D chord already. Right? That note's the root of the chord. This is the 9th of the chord. There's the 4th degree of the chord. And there's the 5th of the chord. So it brings out a certain element of the D chord that's really actually quite cool. The flat 7 and the 5th. Right? And then when we go back to the A chord, essentially we're creating this melody on the A chord going down to this melody on the D chord. And that's what makes the flavor of the blues start to come alive, is we hear the feel of the chords more than just, staying in one minor pentatonic. Okay? So that's an effective technique. Now when we go to the 5 chord and I continue to play A minor pentatonic, that sounds a little bit more bluesy, because when you play A minor pentatonic over E, you bring out the flavor of the sharp 9 on that. It's an altered sound. We'll talk about what that means later, but it brings out this kind of a sound on the E chord, which is pretty cool. And I think I'll go back to major pentatonic here. Okay. Now, ideally, really what you want to be able to do is play minor pentatonic and major pentatonic in one position, so you don't have to physically shift around so much. Okay? So I know I've gone over these pentatonic patterns, but let's just review the major pentatonic in pattern 4. Very similar to the major scale in pattern 4, but remember it's pentatonic, so it's only 5 notes. So you'd be well served to review that again. So major pentatonic in this position of A major pentatonic would be these notes. And then again. And you can go all the way up to the 9th. Okay? So I don't really have to do the big move, can actually stay in one position and play things like this. Right? I'm basically playing major and minor in one position there. Okay? So I'll show you how I'm going to do that now, and then you're going to have your own chance to do it. Okay? So I'll stay in one position and utilize the sound of these two scales to give the flavor of the chords more impact. Okay, here we go.